Hello everybody. So I'm just gonna do a quick update. So I'm looking at Grandpa. Don't mind my camera. I actually broke the camera glass on it, so it's messed up how my video looks now. But I don't know how to replace it. So here's Grandpa, and with it being non-touched for what I think 9 months ago was my last video that I had done, around the time that I had filled up the other portion of it. So this is what Grandpa looks like now. The other day I came through and I peeked in on him anyway, and I was like, okay, I need to kind of work through, see what's going on with them. This is how much they ate. Half of it is pretty much gone. So what's on this side of Grandpa, my little garbage bin. So what's on this side of Grandpa is all the done. I mean, there's some bits and pieces that they never made it to that, hangs around the edge that, they didn't eat or whatever and it's drying out. But I'm currently working on making another batch of pre-compost, so I can get this portion filled up again and get it back in its rotation. But they literally ate all of it. So I did put some food in here recently that I just basically stuffed it even on top, and that's gone. So they devoured it within no time. But I mean, they're all still, they're still in here and everything, and they're still doing good. Exactly what all I have left, as far as the mix that I had in here, I don't really know, because it did get kind of cold in here. And the one species doesn't like being cold. I guess I even have to put more paper on there. So I don't know if they survived at all or not. But when I get back into this, I'm gonna have to probably see if I can recognize exactly what I have left, that did survive the cold that did happen in here. It was really, really compact and high moisture in it. So I went ahead and added some cocoa coir I had done up. And then when I ran out of that, because I didn't have any more done up, because I like adding, I like having dry, done up cocoa coir. So in case I have to fix a moisture problem, then I can add it in there dry. And it won't, overly hurt anything. It brings it back to that fluffiness. And I ran out of that, so I did some cardboard. That's pretty much what you see up like in here is some of the cardboard I added, to help suck up a lot of the moisture that did happen from it being really cold in here. For some reason, even my bins down here, which are doing great. These are my Louisiana swamp worm batches that I got from a gal I follow. So you can see it's soaked up. This even got really, really damp in here, so the paper's soaked up a lot as well. But now that it's warmed up in here, let's see if I can pull it out so you can see it a little bit better. This got overly, some parts got dry, and then some parts just got way too, it just collected all the moisture in this room. And so now it's, it's getting back to what it was. But these are basically my grow out, Louisiana swamp worms. See, there's a couple there. So those are Louisiana swamp worms. And they're working on it. They also got food that I had stuck on this side. So you can see them still kind of working at the bits and stuff over there. So this is basically the main bin, and then underneath of this, that just fits right under Grandpa. So this is the littles. Underneath I have, this was cocoons, and then some adults. Actually, no, this one was straight adults, that's right. So you can see all the moisture that had conglomerated in here, which I need to dry out some cocoa coir and add a little bit more in here. But they ate everything. This looked like what I put in Grandpa. It was a big conglomeration of different carbons, and swamp worms really like carbon, by the way. So these were adults that I had separated, that now there's babies and probably more cocoons and stuff like that as well. But yeah, this I had built, and it works great. That says ENCs. It's not ENCs. It's all Louisiana swamp worms. But this was my new setup that I had built. I didn't get Grandma built, which is going to go over here in this mess on the side over, so it'll go right next here. And that one I'm going to have, hopefully, cross my fingers, I will have it strictly as like red wigglers. I'm not going to do a mix, another mix yet, until I get the main ones that I want, which is, I still need red wigglers, straight pure red wiggler, and then I need ENCs as well. So European night crawlers, I need a bit of those as well, because I don't have any. And once I get those done, and with these Louisiana swamps, then I'll create another mix, composting mix that does not include a invasive species, which is in here. And I'm hoping maybe the cold that did happen here might have killed them off. I'm hoping. I doubt it, but you know, I could only hope. And then I now just got my pre-compost bin going. I am going to do another video, and I'm going to do a little, I want to do a little experiment with something, but I've got to get it all situated. I've got to get this bin, this pre-compost going first before I even attempt that, because I don't know how it's going to go as far as doing a pre-compost. But I do want to get that done. And my room is still disarray. I'm working on a little craft project with cardboard as well, and some of the cardboard is what I'm shredding up. So bad cardboard I shred up, and good cardboard I'm keeping for like my crafting projects. But this room is still a work in progress by a lot. But I have a couple other ideas that I might be able to do and work around, as far as maybe starting some more colonies, without having, you know, grandma, because this is grandpa, and then I'm going to have one grandma, and then I've got the littles. So, you know, at some point I will get to that. But for now, I've got to get grandpa back. I've got to get grandpa back and squared away, because all of this whole portion is done, and it basically needs to come out, except for what I've put in there to help soak up all that moisture. It doesn't smell bad, but it could have, I think it was going to get to the verge where it was going to start smelling bad, and it was just so clumped and so, you know, it was that hard packed mud basically. I've got to get it back to what it was. So once I get this side done, get a good feeding in there, hopefully they'll, you know, migrate over, because there's really not anything over here on this side except for the cocoa coir and the cardboard I put in there, and then maybe what other little bits is left over from previous. But there's really not, when I was doing it, there's not a lot. They ate through all of it in that 9 months, which is good. You know, I was smart. I did a variety of different kinds of carbons, which is what I do with my pre-compost. I don't just do straight cardboard, or I don't just do straight one thing. I give them, you know, I try to give them a variety in case, you know, life happens. I can't get to them right away. And it was a good thing I did do that, because that's basically what they lived off of for quite a while. They are a little skinny because they haven't gotten actual food, and I still have to make up some more worm chow, which I ran out of. So I've got to do that. I need to make up bigger batch of it is basically what I need to do. Um, but you know, they're not dead, thankfully. I did not kill them. Um, they're just a little hungry as far as regular food goes. But that mix of carbon, it did sustain them for the period of time that I didn't deal with them. Because usually, you know, when I do it anyway, I don't feed them. I only feed them like once a month, regardless. Because I have a big population, but I don't have a big population. So I do enough that I know for sure it will kind of last a month. And then the next month I feed them again. Um, so all that, what I did with their bedding, it thankfully, I'm so glad it was able to tie them over. They just blew through it though. Now if you want to know what I do, basically I have it to where I break down how much of the carbon and how much of the nitrogen, because I made that mistake one time of not realizing how much of what I added is I added too much nitrogen to my carbon, and it wound up with a smell. It was a fermentation smell. You can get a smell go either or. You can get a really putrid smell, like sour smell, which is a lot of cases that's when you have too much carbon versus your nitrogen. Or it can go the opposite, where you have too much nitrogen with your carbon, and what happens if you have too much nitrogen, it gets a fermentation smell. So it smells like you're fermenting something, like when you let grass sit for a long time and you get that really kind of strong, pungent fermentation smell. That's basically what happened. And I was able to save that. So now I'm really careful on how much of what I add. So I figured out for the container that I do. Now I've done a little bit bigger container. So I'm now going 14 gallons of carbon, 10 gallons of nitrogen. And so with the carbon, what I do is I add so many gallons of cardboard, and then I add so many gallons of leaves, dried leaves, and then I add so many gallons of cocoa coir, because I always keep that cocoa coir in there for a couple of reasons. And then I add, with my husband doing dealing with wood and stuff, he gets a lot of wood shaving, the fine wood shavings and stuff. So I actually also add like 2 gallons of, I only add 2 gallons though. I don't do a lot of wood shaving, but I kind of do enough. But what happens with wood shavings and like with the cardboard, it also has like regular paper in it. It clumps up, and it compacts and clumps up to where it just, they can't get into it or whatnot. So the reason why I add the cocoa coir is the cocoa coir helps keep everything separate, almost like an oil that you would put on your noodles. So it helps keep it separated, in there. They'll be able to move through it and whatnot. So that's kind of how I work mine. I used to do just straight cardboard, but I don't anymore. And so now I add, I add the cardboard, I add the leaves. I don't do anything with the leaves. The leaves is put in the pre-composting process, so I don't cook it. I don't do anything with it because it's already going to cook during its pre-composting process anyway. It's going to get hot enough, it's going to kill any bugs, it's going to kill any of that. So I don't even worry about doing that. Now, if you were to, what some people do because you don't want the bugs or whatever coming in to your thing like I did with the centipede, this is why I added in the pre-compost now instead, is I did have a centipede. Centipedes, if you get bit, you can, it's not good if we get bit, especially if it's an adult, because they will bite you. But they inject you, with like a poison. And so, you don't want to get bit by one. But what also happens is centipedes are carnivores. So if you get a centipede in your setup, they will eat your worms. And I had found an adult, finally caught the little bugger, but I guess it had laid eggs, because I found 2 separate bins with little baby centipedes in them, which I got them both. Thankfully, I got them both out. But that was just because I added the leaves directly in. Well, it was in a container, so I let the container sit, but apparently they hitched a ride. And so I added the leaves directly in. That was my mistake. I don't really want to cook the leaves. I don't really want to boil the leaves because I don't want that smell in my house. And I feel that if doing that, it's also going to remove the nutrients out of the leaves as well. So I really don't want to do that. So now I just basically include it into the pre-compost process. That way the heat and everything will kill off all the bad. So if you're worried about that, you can either cook your leaves, boil your leaves. You just basically put it on like 200 for a little while. I think it's like an hour or 2 hours or something like that. Or you can boil them as well. But I just don't do that process. I just include it in my pre-composting. That way it's cooked. You know, it gets cooked in there. So that's what I do with my leaves. And I break them up. You know, I don't do whole. So if they're dry, I break them up. I crumble them, make them smaller. And so I do so many gallons of those. And then and everything else. And they liked it. They enjoyed it. Wood still breaks down. The shavings are so fine that, I mean, it still takes a little while for it to break down. But it doesn't take as long to break down as you would like twigs or a little bit bigger pieces. So, they do break down over time. And like I said, I only do, for how much I put in, I only do 2 gallons worth. If I was to do, if I go a little bit more, then I'll add another gallon. But I won't go any more than that because I don't want it too compact to the point where they can't move freely through everything. So, like my compost here. Oh, this is I just finished this. And I didn't record it because I need to get it done. So, like, you can see my cardboard. I got, here's some leaves. The cocoa cores in there. And you can see, like, the little shavings. Barely, but you can see them. They're like, see, they're little bitty. They're just little bitty shavings. So, that's how I work it. And then the cocoa core keeps everything to where it doesn't clump and stick to where they can't, move through it. Like, because regular paper, it clumps, and it just forms this rock solid ball. They can't work on it, and it's a nightmare. So what I do is I do a mix of cardboard and regular paper. That way it also helps keep it separated, and it'll keep that fluffy texture. So if you want to do that, it works great. I've had no problems doing it that way. And like I said, it's a good thing I did this last batch the way that I did it, because it tied them over perfectly for the amount of time that I kind of took off after my dad passed away. I just was not in any mood to basically life. And then after we buried my dad, and my aunt passed away. So it was a very rough year for 2024. And I'm just now kind of, I guess, feeling good enough to get back into this and doing my videos and stuff like that. But yeah, that's Grandpa. Half of him is gone. Poor Grandpa. But we'll get him back. And again, in my one video, I talked about this. And if you have, depending on how your rims are, I can maybe find these and also post these up. But if you get these, I got these at, I think it was Lowe's, actually. Home Depot or Lowe's, but I'm pretty sure it was Lowe's. These, depending on your setup, instead of having, like, containers all over the place, these hang on the side. And what I do is, you can see my little bin here. This is my, like, little bits that I've pulled out that they didn't eat. And I forgot about them anyway. But it's like little bits that they don't eat. I throw them in the thingy. And then put it back on the feed side. This one is my garbage bin. So, like, any bits of pieces, well, that's not garbage, but, like, any bits of pieces, like plastic, it's another one of those ones, and it's, like, for refrigerator or organizing, something like that. Anyway, it works perfect for hanging on the side of Grandpa, and you could pretty much do it, probably even on a, say, like a tote, if it's not, if the, you know, the thing's not overly wide, like a clear tote, it would probably hang over. But they come in handy. I'm not gonna lie. I'm glad I thought about this idea. And I will see if I can post you a link of, maybe you can find them for cheap somewhere. But if you got a bunch of worm bins, containers, or whatnot, this one's actually for breeding fish for the fries. But these are just for storage or organization, whatever. It worked great. So, anyway, I just wanted to give you an update on Grandpa. Give you a quick shout out. And, you know, I'm not dead. I'm still alive. I just was not in the mood, to get, you know, deal with any of this. But now I think I am ready to come back and get back into the saddle and get this room organized again and reset up to how I want to do it, so I can try and start some more colonies. I would like to do some more colonies. I just gotta acquire, like I said, I've gotta acquire those red wigglers, especially from somebody who actually knows what a red wiggler is, what a red wiggler looks like, and not the invasive species that I ended up with off of my first ever order. And then hopefully at some point I'll also get some Euros, because I would really like some European night crawlers. The night crawlers I had are the Canadians. I didn't want to do them, and I wound up finding out that the ones I got were Canadian, and they've pretty much all died, because I am not about to keep them in the refrigerator whatsoever. That is not my whole plan and idea of dealing with night crawlers. So they pretty much died on me, which I feel bad they died, but in a way I'm glad, because then I don't have to worry about them, because it gets too hot, they start escaping. And I've got them in a cool spot, but it's not cool enough for them. Unless by chance, I haven't gone through their bin, by chance there might be some alive. I don't think so, though. But I would actually like to get the Euros. Those are the ones I actually wanted, but not what I ended up with. So, anyway, I'll get there. I'm going to try and set up another setup, get a compost going, and maybe I can acquire my red wiggler somewhere, so I can at least get them started until Grandma is built, because I want Grandma this size as well. I want a full, this is all going to be red wigglers, and then I want another one that's all going to be, the ENCs, and then another one that I'm hopefully I can get enough of these, swamp worms, that it will be all of them. And then I will make one that is a general composting mix that I feel safe giving people or whatever for their stuff, and not what's out of Grandpa. Because that one, the way I've got to work this is I literally have to try and get as many cocoons out of the castings as I can. If I don't, basically what I have to let it do is, if there's any wormlings, any babies or the cocoons, I have to let it grow out to make sure I get them all out, and not give the castings to somebody. And, I'm part and play of, you know, giving out invasive species of worms. I don't want to be that person. So I literally do it all by hand to make sure from this bin that I am not going to give anybody or even myself and introduce a worm that does not belong. That can disrupt, you know, the natural way of things. So I don't want to do that. Anyway, so, okay, guys. God, my camera is, my poor, it's horrible. So anyway, I hope you all, well, and keep tracking, and I will see you later. I will do a video, though, when I do go to test my, experiment, but I just got to get situated for it. But I will do a video on what I'm going to be doing with my experiment, and I will keep you guys updated to follow along to see how well it works or what it does. Because, you know, we all like people who do experiments, and, you know, out of curiosity, does it work? Does it not work? So we will find out exactly what it does, because I'm actually curious myself. But I will keep you posted, and I will probably pop on after my after I have done my check-in on my pre-compost. That's the word. So, okay, guys, have a good one, and I will see you all later.